Welcome to the Trinitas Ventures Site Safety Orientation. At Trinitas, safety is more than a policy, it's a priority. We're dedicated to providing a safe environment for everyone, whether you're on a job site or in the office. This orientation will walk you through essential safety practices and our specific requirements to help protect yourself and your team. We'll cover key procedures, how to respond to emergencies, and how to recognize and address potential hazards. Safety is a team effort. By staying alert and proactive, we can build a workplace where everyone looks out for each other. Let's get started and set the foundation for a safe and successful experience at Trinitas Ventures. It is the responsibility of every subcontractor to comply with OSHA laws and Trinitas site-specific safety requirements at all times. This orientation will outline your requirements and obligations that must be followed to ensure that a safe work environment is provided and maintained for all persons working on this job site. Let's talk about the essentials for working on this job site. First, completing the safety orientation is mandatory. Once done, you'll receive a Site Work Hard Hat sticker number. Ensure you place it on a clean spot on your hard hat, as it's crucial for working here. Now, regarding paperwork, fill out the top section of the Personal Orientation Agreement and the registration tracker, making sure to match your information with your assigned worker number. If your phone number changes, inform your Trinitas supervisor immediately, since this is vital for our site evacuation program. Let's go over a quick few key job site safety items. Proper dress. Supervisors and safety representatives must inspect work areas frequently. Hazards regarding improper work attire and PPE violations should be corrected or reported to the Trinitas project superintendent immediately. Hazard identification. Supervisors and safety representatives must inspect work areas regularly. Correct hazards immediately or report them to the Trinitas project superintendent. Assembly and evacuation. If evacuation is needed, an air horn will sound. All workers must gather at the designated point. Do not leave until everyone is accounted for using the registration sheet. Work-related injuries. Report all work-related injuries, no matter the severity, to Trinitas Construction immediately. Submit a written incident report within 24 hours. Next, let's discuss the requirements regarding the operation of equipment on the job. It is imperative that each worker provides proper documentation for all equipment being operated at Trinitas. For forklift operators specifically, they must demonstrate that they have received training within the past 3 years and ensure their training is up to date throughout the project. This is in accordance with OSHA Regulation 1910.178I. Regarding MEWPs or aerial lifts, documentation must be specific to the equipment in use. Both the operator and any rider must be trained in the operation and use of the lift, especially if the lift is designed to accommodate more than just the operator. We will discuss these requirements in further detail later on in the presentation. Lastly, it is vital to only use your own equipment. Use of other trades' equipment is not allowed. Let's take a brief moment to discuss the Toolbox Talk style training requirements. All workers at the site must make it a priority to attend at least one Toolbox Talk safety meeting each week. These weekly Toolbox Talks are essential for keeping everyone informed about the latest safety protocols and procedures. It is imperative that the weekly Toolbox Talks are submitted to Trinitas at each weekly subcontractor meeting to ensure compliance and to address any safety concerns that may arise during the project. Moving into job site housekeeping items, glass containers are prohibited on site. Subcontractors are required to supply containers for meal waste and drinking cups. Nails that are protruding must be either bent flat or removed promptly. Welded wire mesh scraps need to be disposed of in a trash container immediately after cutting. Banding iron should be flattened or placed in an appropriate trash container. Round stock and conduit cutoffs must be contained immediately after being cut. Maintain clear work areas and passageways at all times. As far as restroom locations go, the only place to use the restroom is the provided porta-pots. Do not fill bottles and leave them around the site or use the restroom in the showers, tubs, corners, or hallways. If you are found to be participating in this, you will be removed from the site and charged for cleanup. Please remember the importance of ensuring that every subcontractor provides their team with access to fresh drinking water at all times. Additionally, it is essential to maintain water availability for hand washing to adhere to OSHA 1926.51 standards and ensure cleanliness. It is essential to wear long pants, shirts with sleeves, appropriate work shoes or boots, in addition to high visibility vests or clothing. Wearing hard hats is mandatory while on site. Safety glasses must be worn for tasks such as grinding, cutting, or chipping. If you wear prescription glasses, please ensure they meet the safety standards of ANSI Z 87.1. Utilize face shields when necessary as specified in OSHA 1910.133. Adhere to OSHA standards regarding ear protection. Refrain from wearing shorts, sleeveless shirts, and athletic shoes. These are not permitted on site. Please ensure that a copy of the subcontractor's site-specific chemical inventory list, along with the accompanying SDS sheets, are submitted to Trinitas Construction. Please ensure that these are updated as needed. If any unknown or potentially hazardous materials are encountered during construction, work in that area must stop immediately. Notify Trinitas Construction without delay. The work will only continue once authorization is given by the Trinitas Construction Project Manager, Project Superintendent, Business Unit Safety Director, or third-party administrator. In this next section, we will discuss the importance of proper fall prevention methods and our site-specific requirements. At Trinitas, we uphold a strict zero-tolerance policy regarding fall prevention. Any infraction of this policy will result in immediate removal from the site. If there are ever any questions regarding fall protection systems or requirements, always gain clarification before proceeding with work. Assumptions create accidents. Subcontractor employees are required to utilize complete fall prevention systems for any work conducted at heights of 6 feet or more, including tasks involving leading edges. When inspecting personal fall arrest systems, remember that guardrails are not suitable tie-off points. All fall arrest equipment must be inspected by a qualified person, with records sent to Trinitas. Protection methods include safety nets, personal fall arrest systems, and guardrail systems. Openings larger than 24 by 24 inches must be secured with guardrails rather than floor hole covers to prevent unintentional displacement. Lastly, subcontractors are responsible for managing any openings they create. I now want to transition to the electrical safety requirements on Trinitas job sites. Let's start with a focus on the importance of GFCI protection. It's essential for all electrical cords and tools, whether they're connected to permanent or portable generators. When it comes to cord standards, it's crucial to use 3-wire cords that are 14 gauge or heavier. These should be rated for hard or extra hard usage with the correct amperage to ensure optimal performance and safety. For those using permanent power, a GFCI pigtail device must be placed between the tool and the extension cord. This step is vital in maintaining a safe working environment. Every contractor carries the responsibility to provide and maintain temporary GFCIs when a GFCI receptacle is not available. This ensures continuous protection for everyone involved. It's important to note that substituting an assured equipment grounding conductor program for GFCI use is not allowed. Finally, the electrical subcontractor is tasked with testing power receptacles for polarity and grounding. The results must be submitted to Trinitas Construction before use, with ongoing testing and documentation on a monthly basis to ensure ongoing safety and compliance. Let's now talk about some essential guidelines for hand and power tool usage and our requirements on the job. Conduct regular inspections. Wear suitable personal protective equipment. Utilize tools strictly for their designated functions. Ensure tools are cleaned and stored appropriately after use. Avoid leaving them connected to power sources. Important reminder: fuel-powered tools must be completely shut down and de-energized during refueling, servicing, or maintenance. It is imperative to have a fire extinguisher readily accessible during the refueling process. Lastly, ensure gas-powered equipment or tools are stored at least 30 feet away from buildings or other stored materials. Next, let's talk about excavations. On Trinitas jobs, we require complete adherence to the OSHA standards outlined in 29 CFR 1926.652 Subpart P for all applicable contractors. It is crucial to ensure all excavation activities align with these safety guidelines to effectively prevent hazards and maintain a secure working environment. Conduct daily pre-shift inspections, ensuring a competent person thoroughly examines excavations, adjacent areas, and protective systems before commencing work each day. Be vigilant in checking for any potential hazards. This includes being alert to signs of cave-ins, hazardous atmospheres, water accumulation, or failures in protective systems. Ensure that all excavations are either barricaded or otherwise secured at the end of each shift, or whenever work is paused to prevent unauthorized access or accidental falls. Let's move into discussing overhead protection. It is essential to coordinate trade activities through Trinitas Construction to ensure safety and prevent falling object injuries. Trades should not work directly above one another without proper coordination and approval. For areas above 10 feet, toe boards are mandatory to safeguard against falling objects. When accessing work areas, use protected points and comply with all restrictions to ensure safety. Once your work is completed, ensure that all access restrictions are promptly removed. Always remember to check above for any changes before leaving the area. Now we're going to talk about the dangers associated with crystalline silica and your responsibility in not only protecting yourself, but the trades working around you as well. All contractors must fully comply with the regulations set out in the 29 CFR 1926.1153 standard as it relates to their individual work scope. This compliance requirement applies broadly to tasks such as cutting, grinding, and drilling materials like concrete and granite. The rule affects all employees who are exposed to respirable crystalline silica levels above 25 micrograms per cubic meter over an 8-hour work shift. This includes all types of construction work, unless it can be clearly demonstrated that exposure remains consistently below the designated threshold level. As the contractor, your key responsibilities encompass conducting thorough assessments to identify potential silica hazards, implementing appropriate control measures through a comprehensive exposure control plan, and doing so in accordance with OSHA's Table 1 recommendations when applicable. Additionally, you must ensure that all monitoring, training, and medical surveillance requirements are strictly adhered to, guaranteeing the safety and compliance of all involved parties. Next, let's discuss respiratory protection and how it could be relevant to you as a contractor. Every contractor is required to develop and implement a customized respiratory protection program if it is applicable to their scope. This includes the selection of respirators, conducting medical evaluations and monitoring, fit testing, proper use of respirators, their care and maintenance, as well as comprehensive training and meticulous record keeping. Now, let's move on to program administration. This must be managed by a program administrator who is well trained in respiratory protection. Additionally, the implementation must be supervised by a competent person. Finally, the program must align with the requirements set forth in OSHA Standards 29 CFR 1926.103, which refers to 29 CFR 1910.134. Let's talk about the proper storage of combustible and flammable liquids. In storing these liquids in quantities of more than 5 gallons, only use approved containers. Adhere to OSHA Standard 29 CFR 1926.152 for storage, usage, and maintenance. Keep fuel at least 30 feet away from buildings or other stored materials. For refueling small gas-powered tools like chop saws and small engines, use a metal container with a spring-loaded top for venting fumes, equipped with a flash-arresting screen and a spout cover. Trinitas has specific expectations regarding the storage and handling of building materials. Ensure that materials stored inside buildings are positioned at a minimum of 6 feet away from hoistways or floor openings. Position materials no less than 10 feet from exterior walls that do not extend above the stored material. Store roofing materials at least 6 feet from the edge to prevent them from being displaced. When moving large objects with obscured vision, a spotter is essential for guidance. Utilize your legs for lifting instead of your back to maintain safe, ergonomic posture. If an item is too heavy to move on your own, request the assistance of a partner to lift it. Our next training topic is steel erection, and our requirements are as follows. A pre-planning meeting is needed to discuss fall protection during steel removal from high, flat trailers. Avoid using horizontal members as anchorage unless they are secured at 2 points independent of the hoist line. Something important to note, employees must not walk onto a member connected on one side and still attached to the crane. Christmas treeing, or multiple lift rigging, is permissible if a multiple lift rigging assembly is used, and employees are trained according to OSHA 29 CFR 1926.761. Moving on to motor vehicles and mechanized equipment. Ensure all motor vehicles and material handling equipment with limited rear visibility are equipped with a reverse signal alarm that is clearly audible above ambient noise levels. Conduct daily pre-shift inspections of equipment and have the checklist ready for submission to Trinitas Construction whenever required. Always use a seatbelt when operating equipment. Only equipment with a rollover protective structure and seatbelts is permitted on Trinitas construction projects. Lastly, remember to turn off engines during refueling. Let's transition to talking about the safe practices and our requirements for all welding and cutting activities on site. In ensuring safety within the work area, a 20-pound ABC dry chemical extinguisher must be present and ready for immediate use. Site-specific fire prevention programs should incorporate the necessary permit procedures, including the acquisition of a hot works permit from Trinitas Construction, as well as the use of shields and blankets. During all welding activities, it is essential for the subcontractor to conduct a fire watch, extending to at least 60 minutes after welding is completed. Regarding the maintenance or construction of energized equipment of any kind, a lockout-tagout program must be present. Before commencing work, subcontractors are required to provide their written lockout-tagout program that is specific to their individual work scope, along with evidence of employee training. This program should encompass the scope of training, pre-planning, and detailed lockout-tagout procedures. Additionally, it is imperative to inform Trinitas whenever a hazard is locked out and subsequently unlocked and tags are cleared. At no point should any individual attempt to remove another employee's lock without obtaining approval from Trinitas supervision. This is of extreme importance. Now let's talk about scaffolds and the requirements that pertain to them on a Trinitas job site. Scaffolds are to be constructed under the guidance of a competent person as per OSHA standards 1926.450 and 1926.454. The qualifications and identity of the competent person must be provided to Trinitas prior to beginning any work. Scaffolds require proper tagging, daily inspections, and maintenance of checklists and/or paperwork by the subcontractor. These are to be available upon request. Fall protection measures are mandatory for heights exceeding 6 feet. The competent person will assess and determine the necessary fall protection during scaffold assembly and disassembly. Ladder access should not exceed 20 feet unless employing stair tower scaffolding. The use of pump jack scaffolding is not allowed unless otherwise specified by the project manager or the lead superintendent. Let's now review the essential safety and compliance requirements for using mobile elevating work platforms, or MEWPs. First, all MEWP operations must strictly adhere to the manufacturer's recommendations. Additionally, compliance with key industry standards is required, including ANSI A92.20, which covers the design of MEWPs, ANSI A92.22, which outlines safe use guidelines, ANSI A92.24, which specifies training requirements, and OSHA's 29 CFR 1926.453 standard for aerial lifts. For worker safety, employees must always use the designated anchor points in the platform or basket and wear the appropriate fall protection equipment. It's critical to stay within the confines of the platform, never climb on the guardrails or leave the basket while elevated. Finally, a spotter must always be in place when moving the MEWP in an elevated position to ensure safe operation and prevent hazards. By following these standards and practices, we can ensure both compliance and the safety of everyone involved. Moving on to our requirements surrounding stairways and the use of ladders on site. Ensure that stairways remain unobstructed at all times. Exit paths must be free of any foreign objects or stored materials. When using ladders, always maintain 3 points of contact to ensure safety during ascent or descent. Avoid standing on the top 2 steps of any step ladder to prevent accidents. Step ladders should always be fully opened and never leaned against walls for stability. Use only Type 1 or 1A heavy-duty ladders with a capacity of 275-300 pounds to ensure reliability. All ladders must comply with OSHA standards 1926.1050 and 1926.1060, including those that are job-built. Ladders are suitable for access only up to 20 feet. For heights above this, alternative safe methods must be employed. Extension ladders need to be secured, extend 3 feet beyond the landing point, and maintain a proper 4-to-1 slope. To verify the slope, stand at the base and reach out. If your arm is fully extended without bending the elbow, the slope is correctly set. Metal ladders are not permitted on Trinitas projects due to safety regulations. We kindly ask all individuals to refrain from using tobacco products within the confines of any building associated with this project. Adherence to this policy is mandatory. Should there be any breach of this regulation, the consequence will be a prohibition from participating in any Trinitas construction projects for a duration of 1 year. Lastly, we need to talk about our D&A policy that is applicable to all job sites. Trinitas maintains a zero-tolerance policy for drugs and alcohol in the workplace. Possession, manufacture, distribution, or use of illegal drugs, unauthorized controlled substances, drug paraphernalia, or other intoxicants on Trinitas property is strictly prohibited. Reporting to work under the influence of drugs, unauthorized substances, or any amount of alcohol or other intoxicants that impair performance or safety is prohibited. Violation of this policy will result in immediate removal from the job site. Regarding disciplinary action on our projects, we have a 3-step violation process. For a first violation, a written notice is given to the worker and site supervision. The second violation for the same issue results in a notice given to the worker's office supervision. Upon a third violation, the worker will be removed from the Trinitas job sites for up to a year. This is on a case-by-case basis and completely dependent on the discretion of Trinitas supervision. Now that you've completed the orientation, printing and signing your name is an agreement with Trinitas for this project, that you will adhere and abide to what was presented in this orientation. You will be issued your hard hat sticker with a number after signing this agreement and can now work on this Trinitas job site under the agreed conditions. Stay safe, stay alert, and let's continue to support each other in maintaining a workplace that prides itself on safety and excellence. Together, we can achieve a zero-harm environment. Congratulations, Trinitas welcomes you to the job.